Hey guys, how's it going? This is the Bold Metal Nerd coming at you with another video. And in this one, since I've been talking about jobs a lot lately, off and on, and this is going to be another one of those types of videos. So obviously, you know what this is about from the title, but whatever. Um, I thought because right now I'm in the last few days of my current job. The last day at my current job is this coming Tuesday, May 2nd, and then I start my new job Monday, May 8th. So I thought this would be a good time to make this video. And of course, the main topic of this video is basically how I built my career. Okay? Um, because each individual job is not really a career. What a career is, more or less, at least how I define it, is basically how you build your skills up, right, to kind of step into the type of jobs that you want, how to, basically attain your goals professionally. That to me is how I define career. Any one job doesn't really, quote, make a career. So, what I'm going to talk about, of course, is specific to the IT industry, which is, what my career field is. This same could be applied to basically any discipline, though. This is not only IT. A lot of this is going to apply fairly universally. But, of course, since I only have one skill that I think is worth more than minimum wage, right? It's going to just be what I talk about. So there's going to be some specific IT stuff in here, but you can take these concepts and maybe use them for almost anything that requires a fair amount of skill and, um, luck to get into. Basically, when I was real young, right, a kid, as far as what I wanted to be when I grew up, it varied a whole lot. Um, I didn't really have any idea. I don't think most kids do. Even up until high school, what was interesting, my junior year of high school, I went to vocational school for commercial art, right? And because I'm decent at drawing and a few other artistic things, I don't think I'm a great talent or anything, but I'm not the worst in the world at it either. But it's just, I got there, um, you know, I learned the stuff in vocational school about commercial art and all that. And honestly, I noticed that a lot of the other kids in the class were much better at the whole thing than I was, right? I was decent at a few aspects of it, and I did well on a few parts of it, but overall, I just got in there and I started working with it. I just kind of knew, just going through my senior year of high school, that it wasn't for me, right? Like, I knew that it's probably not something that I really wanted to make a career out of, right? So my senior year of high school, I go back to standard high school, not vocational school, and I graduate from my, quote, standard high school, right? And then, of course, my senior year, I'm thinking to myself, well, since I don't want to do commercial art, what am I good at? Where's my skill set lie, right? And of course, a year or two before my senior year of high school, we had gotten the first home computer in our house, right? So I think we got either maybe my sophomore year of high school. It's been a while, guys, so it's kind of hard to remember. But yeah, I think it was my sophomore year, and as soon as we got that computer, I became completely obsessed with it. Spent tons of time on it. I learned everything possible that I could learn about it. It was a great interest of mine. You know, we had by my senior year of high school, we had already upgraded, uh, by then to the wonderful Pentium machine with like a 28.8 modem. Of course, this is 1997, so this was like cutting edge stuff back then, right? So, um, I really enjoyed computers, and I had a fair amount of knowledge about them. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to school for computer information systems. I went to the local tech college here, Cincinnati State, and I started classes there. And I attended school there for close to 2 years. I got more than halfway through the program. And then at that point, I decided to move out of my parents' house. And well, when I did that, I wasn't able to finish school because my mother didn't want to continue to get student loans for me because I didn't live there. Because the wonderful thing about student loans is if you're over 18, you can get some of the loans yourself to go to school, but you can't get all of them. At least I don't know if the law has changed since the dinosaur ages, but back then, if you were over 18, you could get some of the loans yourself, but your parents still had to get some of the loans for you. And it's unless either A, you were 25 or married. Those were the only criteria by which you were allowed to get all of those student loans yourself. You had to either be 25 or married. I was neither one of those things when I moved out of my parents' house. I moved out of there when I just turned 20 when I headed out the door there. So, yeah, that was that was reality, right? And now I did get married about 2 years after I moved out of my parents' house. But by then I had been out of school for 2 years, and I was still supporting myself. I was working various different types of jobs. As far as what did I do after college, I can tell you I did not go directly into IT, not in the least. There were a whole lot of other stops along the way. I've done almost everything job wise. I've had a few manufacturing jobs. I've worked in a few warehouses, sales. Let's see, customer service. Probably sales and customer service is what I have the most experience with outside of IT. So, but during this time period, after I had moved out of my parents' house and before I got into IT, I don't know, maybe a year or two after I had gotten married. So now we're talking, let's see, what year was it by then? Hard to remember. Maybe probably 02, 03, something like that. Maybe 01. It's foggy, guys. I was like, you know what? I want to move towards IT. I knew that was my ultimate goal. It was, I wasn't satisfied with working in call centers or doing sales or doing these other bullshit jobs that I had. They just honestly weren't what I really wanted to do. I was just doing them because it was the only kind of work I could get. So I decided at that point to take it upon myself to study. I bought materials and I got a few base level IT certifications, right? I got my A plus, my Network plus, and that's pretty much what I started with, right? So I'm like, okay, we'll start with these and see where it takes us. So I got the certs, right? Boom. Okay. Then I end up working for a company in 2004. And I ended up doing. I don't get hired for IT at this company initially. I get hired at this company for sales and customer service. It was an auto parts place, right? So okay, I'm selling auto parts left and right at this place, right? And maybe about a year and a half after I got there, the other the IT person who was there leaves the company, right? Decides that he's leaving, and at that point, they're like, "Hey, you know, how?" They ask for a suggestion. Can you suggest anyone for the position in the company? And he suggests me because obviously, since I was interested in IT, I talked to this guy all the time. We had tons of good conversations about tech and computers, and he knew I knew my stuff, so he recommended me for the position. And so it was offered to me at an incredibly low salary, by the way. I'll get to that in a moment. And of course, I took the job because this was my chance to get into the club, as it were. It was for me at the time. It was a race for me. They offered me $32,000 a year, salaried. This was not an hourly position, by the way, guys. But the catch was I was the sole IT person for this entire company of a couple hundred users, right? A couple hundred people there. So it wasn't like teeny tiny mom and pop, but it wasn't a megacorp either. It was 200 to 300 people, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I was it for IT, right? So I was like, well, this is my chance. So I took the job. And, I go from zero to I'm in charge of this whole company's IT infrastructure, right? That's what it was, zero to that. It was definitely a trial by fire type of job. My first week there, I solved a major problem with their VPNs, which I'm pretty proud of considering that was my first week on the job. And now I can't say I did it all alone. I did have assistance, but still, the fact that I managed to do it during week one's pretty good, I think. And of course, I got tons and tons of knowledge there. But the job itself was absolute fucking garbage. It was horrible. Being the only IT person for the company is just as much fun as it sounds. My work-life balance was non-existent. I worked somewhere between 50 to 60 hours a week just because, well, that's just how it was. It was not really by choice, trust me. I'd go on vacation. I'd get 15 phone calls a day. It was absolute hell. Finally, by 2008, I had decided I had enough of this fucking shit, right? So I decided to start looking for another job. The only problem with that is, of course, it was 2008 when the economic crash happened, right? So I was stuck in that hellhole for another 2 years after that, right? So yeah, I was stuck there for a good while, but I kept persevering. I just kept applying to jobs, right? Going on interviews, the whole 9 yards over a 2 year period. 2 years is a long time to be stuck in a job you really fucking hate. An incredibly long time. So anyway, 2010 rolls around. I finally get another job. So I hightail it out of shithole central, right? Funny enough, that company goes out of business a few months after I'm gone, but that's neither here nor there, right? So anyway, I switch over to this other company, and the job was a huge, gigantic leap forward from my first IT job. It was a really significant pay increase. I think it was about walking in the door there, I think it was about maybe an $8,000 a year increase. I think I started off about 40 at this other company, and the best part, and that's just walking in the door. I definitely rose up income wise a bit while I was there. and it was hourly, and it was like way less responsibility. I was not the only IT person at this whole company, right? I was part of a team. Okay, so basically this company, there were like, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 12 people total, I think. Now I was responsible for a region, right, of about 8 locations or so of this company. Now this company was much larger. They have a few thousand employees than the first company I worked at. And, so it was great. I mean, and also it was a big leap forward, in learning new technologies, because of course I learned a ton about, various server technologies and network technologies in job number one. But of course, job number two had a more sophisticated operation. So needless to say, I learned a lot more, right? I did tons of projects while I was there, and I climbed up financially while I was there. By the time I was done there, I had moved up in about a 6-year period. I went up, by the time I was leaving there, I was making about 10,000 more a year than when I had walked in the door. That's not bad, right? So anyway, oh, by the way, at my shitty first job, I never got a fucking raise because my boss was a total dickhole. But that's, that's neither here nor there. I mean, I loved that job so much. Yeah, I'm being sarcastic. Anyway, moving on. So anyway, that job is the one that I got laid off from in February of last year. I worked there for a good 6 years, and then, 6 years later, they tell me to go fuck off because they had eliminated the position, right? So, crap. But, within a week, I had another job, which, again, because by then I had, let's see, how many years of experience in IT? Sorry, I'm thinking, guys. Like about, 11 or 12 years of experience by that point. So it wasn't really difficult for me to get another job. And then the next job I got after that, that was the contract position. It lasted 3 months that I thought might go permanent. That actually paid even more money than the job that I had been laid off from. So I was like, all right, I'm falling upwards, right? This is great. Of course, that job didn't work out. I mean, it ended after only 3 months because it was a contract, and they're like, shove off, right? And then I was out of work for 2 months and ended up in my current role, which unfortunately was a step down financially a bit. It pays $50K a year. So we're back down financially a little bit, but when I took the role, I wasn't working. So on me, right? Beggars can't be choosers if you don't have a job. So, and it was the only real job offer that I had. Then, of course, it didn't take me long to figure out I didn't like this job. So, it took me about this time looking for a job beginning to end about 6 months, but 2 of those months I don't count because November and December are absolutely the worst time of year to look for a job. Nobody's hiring during the holidays typically. So if we only count January to April, right around 4 months is what it took me to find my current role. Well, not my current role, my next role that I'm starting on May 8th. And that seems to be, and again, it's another step up, right? I am going to be working for, as I've said, it's a government position. The pay is significantly better than what I'm getting now. It's a fairly large increase. The benefits are much, 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 much better than I've ever had before, frankly, anywhere. So it's definitely an increase in quality, and the job will, quite frankly, just be much better than my current role. Because in my current role, I work for an MSP, which means there's over 100 different customers, which means good luck figuring shit out, right? Because that means over 100 different environments, 100 different everything. And a lot of it's not very well documented, so it kind of sucks. Whereas where I'm going, of course, it's just going to be one customer to take care of, one environment, one set of variables, a lot easier to manage. And, so the main thrust of this video that I'm basically making is if you can build a career instead of just a job, you have mobility. You have the ability to, better your situation. Like if you really don't like your job, right? You can go get another one, and it's not that tough if you have a skill that's in demand and valuable, right? So basically, my suggestion to anyone to build a career, basically, it kind of goes through a few steps. Step one, figure out what it is you want to focus on or what your niche is, right? That's step one. Step two, figure out, well, I'm sorry, your profitable niche. Not everything's a niche. Like, you're not going to get paid for sitting around eating Cheetos all day, right? You have to find a niche that people are willing to pay you money for, right? Whatever that is. So that's step one. Step two, figure out, okay, what skills do I need to develop to get a position in that field, right? And then once you figure that out, then obviously you start getting those skills. And then obviously you just start, at that point, you start putting yourself into positions where you can get into that chosen field, because many fields are what I call clubs. They're hard as hell to get in, but once you're in, you're in. IT is like that. Before you get into IT, it's not easy to get into IT. It's really not. Just being interested in it and nothing else doesn't help. You have to have an in, right? My in was that really crappy first IT job I had, but it was still a way in. And then once I got into the club, as it were, and got some experience, other possibilities really opened up, and I could really, kind of, have some control over my destiny, because of course there's always going to be variables you can't control for. Like I can't control that I got laid off from that one job. But you can kind of weather storms a little bit better if you have a clear path to take, right? Than just, oh shit, I don't know what I want to do. You're a lot more like this, because in the days before I was in IT, I was like that, right? I've done literally every type of job you can imagine. I would take almost any job I could get just to have a job. I won't do that now. The only time I'll take a job I really don't want is if I'm unemployed. In my current job search, I've actually turned down several roles that I knew weren't right for me. Like, I didn't take the first thing that came along in my current job search. I actually held out for the type of job that I wanted. That's part of the reason it took me a while, because I was like, you know what? If I'm going to leave my current job, I'm going to leave for something that I actually want to do. I'm not going to leave to go somewhere else that I know before I even get there, it's going to suck. That would be really stupid. Why would I leave one job I dislike for another job I dislike? That is a very foolish thing to do. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stick here until I find a job that I think is right for me. And that's what I did. And I think that's the best decision. So basically, just if you apply some of these things to your own career, you might be surprised just how far you get. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I know I kind of rambled a bit, and if you made this far, thanks so very much. But I'd really be interested to hear your guys' experience with your careers. How did you build it? What steps did you take? do you have any advice for anyone else? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, I do realize there is some luck in this. I mean, I very easily could have not gotten that first IT role, and it may have taken me longer to get it. I realize there are variables that there's some luck involved, for sure, no doubt about that. But I kind of, again, I did things to kind of position myself to where if an opportunity like that came along, I could take advantage of it, and which I did. So anyway, that's pretty much going to wrap this up. I just want to say, if you like me, thumbs up. If you hate me, thumbs down. Share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thanks a whole lot for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.